Welcome to RCS. I did it on purpose.
Yeah. Hi, I'm here.
Guess what? I'm Nick, sponsored by Rainier.
By Rainier. Yeah. I was sampling the sponsorship in the holiday can, the Jubilee holiday can.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But we're still brought to you by Avance, Carter Subaru, Haggerty Drivers Club, which we are missing. I hope they can open soon. Being a social club at this time is a little hard. And, of course, we have an in-kind sponsorship with America's Automotive Trust. We also miss.
They got some fun stuff going down there. They're auctioning off like a Celine Mustang.
A Celine Mustang, yeah.
That looks like it'd be fun to be somewhere without guardrails.
Or crowds.
Or crowds, yeah.
Or with crowds, whatever you're into.
Curb jumping, whatever you're into, yeah. Crowd thinning, yeah.
Could be useful on some highways.
I tell you. No, I was. I think Kristen posted some photos of that, and I was like, ooh, that looks like fun.
Yep. The toy run was this weekend. Looked like it was a big success. I know Drivers Club had a huge delivery. I didn't go just due to I'm doing a bunch of traveling for the holidays, and I wanted to stay socially distant from crowds.
Leaving? You didn't tell me you're leaving.
I'll be back for
you.
We
didn't talk about this.
I know. Sorry. We'll talk to custody later.
Exactly. Don't worry. I'll talk to your handler. She'll tell me where you're going to be.
Right.
That's how I schedule things. Is Dan available? Yes. Okay. I had to download Marco Polo just so I can talk to her now. She sent me one, and I was like, I don't have that app. So, yeah. Hi, Shauna.
We are back again this week at the Mountainside Tavern, which is still closed, of course. But luckily, we know a guy who's the owner.
We broke in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. For his purposes, we broke in.
Yep.
Nobody would blame me.
No, not
This
at all.
is the first time the Subaru's actually been outside of the Mountainside Tavern. Every other time I've been here with the Maserati or the BMW or something.
I was going to say, how did you get it in here?
Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, I know. It's a sad moment. Yeah.
Yeah, this week's Carter Subaru tip of the week is kind of directly in line with a lot of our content today. I was doing a little research on suspension that I don't need for the truck, but hey, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, real expensive, real quick. But the shocks and struts on the Raptor are rebuildable. Mm-hmm. And a lot of new higher...
That means they're breakable, too.
Yes, they are. But a lot of new higher-end suspensions are rebuildable. And I got the question, well, what's the advantage, especially when you have to take your shocks and struts out to be rebuilt? Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to get very far without those. But the average cost of rebuilding a set of shocks or struts from Icon or somebody like that starts at around $250 and goes about $500. But
is it basically just seals and
seals, valving, fluid? You can wear them out if you do a bunch of high-speed off-road. Especially, you're going to burn through the fluid and seals really quickly. Crawling and stuff actually isn't as hard on them unless you fully extend them all the time. Which still, a good set of rebuildable shocks should still run you even longer than because they're typically more robust than the standard shocks and struts on a vehicle. So, where you would normally get 4 to 5 years out of a set, you can probably get 6 to 7 out of a rebuildable set.
So if you're going at speed and you're really heating that fluid, is that the same? Does the same effects on that fluid like you have on brake fluid when they get real hot too?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, and then as it gets hotter, the seals wear out more. A lot of the dirt bike guys and motorcycle guys are listening to this and going like, well, duh. Well, it's kind of new. It's kind of new for cars on the market to come with it from the factory. But anyway, the typical cost is between $250 and $500 for even up to King or Icon.
Per shock?
No, for the whole set actually.
Nice.
Yeah, you can get it. And you can get it done by a lot of people locally, too. You don't have to send it off to the factory. And you can get, in some of the stuff, you can actually get custom valving done. So if you're a racer or you don't like the way your shocks feel when you order them, you can soften them up or stiffen them up, depending on what kind of driving you're doing. So, of course, the downside is you have to send them off or take them somewhere to get rebuilt. But the fact that you'll save $1,500 to $2,000 and you can customize it in the process is a big savings over stock. That said, keep your old struts, because in a pinch, if you just need a roller to get your vehicle around, you can put your old struts on. You're not going to get the same articulation. Most of the time, those old struts will fit. They won't work very well, but they'll fit enough to get you to and from the store or something. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, the big advantage here is for the racers, the guys or the really hardcore guys who have a second vehicle. But either way, that is one big thing to factor into when buying struts for a vehicle. Like, I looked at a set for a 4Runner for a buddy of mine. Non-rebuildable was $900. Rebuildable was $1,300. The savings is instantaneous there the next time you need them. As long as you plan on keeping your vehicle more than 3 to 5 years.
Because you're buying them once.
Yeah, you're buying them once. Yeah. It's probably worth it. So look at that when you're looking at stuff. If you see a rebuildable option, consider how long you're going to own the vehicle. For somebody like me, that would make absolutely no sense because I go through cars like underwear. But
there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth to that, actually, when you said that. Yeah, okay. It made me go, yeah, you do. Okay.
Yes, I think I do have some underwear that are older than most of my cars. Yeah. Just like a year.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Speaking along these lines of a little bit thing, I did get the Subaru back.
Yeah.
And it got all new front shocks. So we'll see. Carter Subaru's gone out of their way, of course. I talk nice about them because they're a sponsor, but they really have. So far so good. I as a car guy, and you and I've talked about this. I don't know how it made that noise, but it did. So we're working on it.
Yeah, maybe just a slight rotation. I think it maybe the strut cap.
It may be.
I don't know.
It may be, but it's back. It's been. I realized that because I keep track of my gas and when for business, and I haven't put gas in it since October because it's been gone. So
yeah. I did. I ran and picked up some parts from an undisclosed location far away, and I averaged about
tax-free area,
16.8 miles to gallon in the Raptor because I drove it there and back in two-wheel drive just on cruise. I let the electronic nannies take over and drive me there basically. And I was like, I did not know this vehicle was capable of getting that mileage.
Sure. I mean. Yours doesn't have the engine shutdown and stuff like that, does it?
It does. Not cylinder deactivation. It just has start-stop deactivation.
Okay.
So it's not like Chevy, which actually worked great in the Vet.
Mm-hmm.
My Vet, I got an average on the highway. My C7 Z06, not the C8. Well, C8 has it too, I guess. But I averaged about 21, 22 on the highway on a long distance when I wasn't driving it like a Corvette.
Yeah, definitely.
When I wasn't driving it like a Corvette owner.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But I couldn't believe how well it did. The Z06 got the best mileage of any car I've had in the last 5 years. My 650 horsepower, 650 pounds.
You have a heavy right foot. So.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I was like, Anyway. Yeah. It also got the worst when I was on it, though. It went from the best to 7.
Yeah.
It was no in between. So anyway.
I was laughing. This is a story to your past. I was watching this. It's a YouTuber. I don't know who he is. And it's an older video that he bought a C63, and he drove it home from the dealership, started having warning lights.
Yeah.
And the next morning, it was dead. All this. I mean, and I watched the whole video. I'll send it to you, but it's funny because this is a while ago. This is like a 2018.
Yeah.
But I remember years when at Christmas Tree, or you talked about Christmas Tree.
Yeah, every other week I drove it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a C63, you can do catback exhaust and wheels. And other than that, it's just going to Christmas tree and die on you.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
He was driving it home from the dealership with 50 miles on it.
Yeah.
And it started saying brake lights. And then he couldn't get in the trunk to check it. And then he tried to open the trunk. And then it made a noise. And then the battery went dead. And then the door wouldn't open. And then, then the dam broke. And then
I have to laugh. With somebody at Range Rover in a competition with somebody at Mercedes to produce the most unreliable vehicle they could think of that people would still buy. I think that was the inside joke they had when they talked to each other there. That's the only thing they could think of. It's what's the biggest piece of shit we can put on the market that people will still buy? And they were like, yes, we've got this.
So speaking of Land Rovers, I'd like to thank Taylor at Park Place. They did a full detail on the Rover this weekend for my parents. So
nice.
Thank you.
They always do such a great job.
Yeah, I know. It's just you brought that. I was like, speaking of Rovers.
Well, no, it's funny because the smaller ones, the more you spend with Range Rover, it's the more time it'll be in the shop. I think it's a direct correlation.
There's more things that break too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is the air ride going to go out first, or maybe you'll be a tail light or a headliner, or maybe the sunroof will just fall into the car.
Yeah,
that was a fun one they did.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Then again, it's not the Mercedes where it's is it going to start today? Maybe.
Are you going to be stranded somewhere? Maybe.
Can you imagine if you had a Range Rover, a C63, and an RX-7? You could have an excuse to be late for everything.
There's some garage that has that. She's driving a Range Rover, he's driving a C63, and the RX-7's a rebuild.
Hey, Rob.
Yep. That's a good point. Dom's probably got that, yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're back with David. We're going to talk more about some of your real passion. You've spent a lot of time at the track. You've done drifting. You've done road racing. Everything between.
But your real passion is origami, folding of paper.
Yeah,
which is big.
You should see it, man.
Pterodactyl pizza boxes.
Pterodactyl pizza boxes, and small Japanese roses.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Or it's off-roading at Baja.
That too.
Big trucks and motorcycles.
He folds while doing this.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason you put big shocks on stuff.
Pretty much.
So it doesn't mess up your origami in
Did you
motion.
see that? I'd like something where I could fold paper while I'm off-road. Sure, sir. Come on in.
I can see the commercial from Fox right now. Fox Shocks, you can do origami. People are like, what? Oh, if you know, you know.
If you know, yeah. If you're in the know, you know.
We should pitch that to him. That would be an awesome commercial. Just somebody at Baja folding a swan.
Okay. Yeah, but you just sit there watching them, and all of a sudden you zoom out, and it's just and it's like, oh, man.
Now I want to do that.
I know. It's a really good idea for marketing. That came out in Some people think we plan this stuff. It's just like,
No, we just all have
Somebody-
ADD and divide it evenly.
yeah. Somebody asked me one time, they're like, where do you get your ideas? And I'm like, I don't know. I was just sitting there and the word origami popped in my head. I'm like, yep, going to interrupt and say that.
That's happening now.
That's happening now. So, yeah.
So how'd you get a tattoo of origami? Funny story.
Funny story. Yeah, exactly. You can't make bets inside the Mount Side Tavern, so there has to be other ways to make money. So, yeah. So I apologize. So you're into off-roading?
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Blow me up.
I'm listening.
Tell me.
Yeah.
So car guy, drifting, did a bunch of different stuff, racing all over the place. And then I got into dirt biking. And one of the things I've realized, I was talking to my friend Jordan about it the other day, actually. Track days in the Northwest are
Wet.
Cold. And
Which adjective should we use?
Yeah. and what ends up happening is you sign up for it months in advance because there's so many people that want to do it and there's only so many spaces and no. So you sign up and then you got a track day coming up. So obviously you're going to modify the shit out of your car in the next couple weeks, and then it's new tires, and you spend all this money, and you got new brake pads, and you went and had an alignment done, and all this different stuff, and then it rains. And you go out there the entire time just waiting to wad your shit. Just waiting.
Yeah.
Or the entire time you're just like, why am I here? Like, why am I doing this? This is fun, right? But then I got into dirt biking. And motorcycle shops are closed on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
So most shops that I've dealt with spend their family time on Sunday, and they go ride on Monday.
Yep.
Trails are empty. So when I started riding dirt bikes, I think I went 27 Mondays in a row. And if it didn't matter if it was wet, didn't matter if we did 73 miles or 13. It didn't matter if we went over hill and dale or if we got stuck in a mud puddle for an hour. It didn't matter if I was bone dry and sucked my camelback shut an hour into the ride, or I'm soaked to my nipples in mud.
You paint a vivid picture.
I try.
Yeah.
But you could go next Monday. Man, how was that? You have fun? No. Want to go again? Yeah. Did you have fun? Yeah. You want to go again? Yeah. Let's go next week. Okay. I'll meet you at your house. No, meet me at my house. Okay.
Are you picking me up or am I picking you up?
Yeah.
Yep. Or we meet at the Safeway at what time?
Mm-hmm.
And it was all of a sudden, it changed the way I approached motorsport.
Yeah. Totally understand that.
And then I had a buddy, friend of a friend, who I met at the Ridge. We did a drift demo down there, and he towed my buddy's drift car for him with his Raptor. And Gen 1 Raptor, 2010, and met the guy, nice guy, cool car, cool truck, whatever, blah, blah, blah. A couple years later, the buddy whose drift car that guy towed, he ended up getting a Raptor. So now the two of them had Raptors, and I talked to the guys. I'm like, so are those things actually, are they actually cool? Because I was a Chevy guy. And they're like, yeah, they're actually pretty cool trucks. They really are. They did a good job. If you look into it, it's not a sticker kit. It's not the Silverado with some Bilsteins and a skid plate.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Ford listened.
it's got some decent stuff.
Yeah.
And so I bought one. And this would have been in probably 15.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought a 2014 with 18,000 miles on it, and I had to pay sticker retail.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a shock. It was sticker shock to buy a used vehicle at sticker. Like, I don't pay sticker for a new car. I'm paying it for a whatever. And then I got it, and I was like, okay, this is cool, and I'll do a couple little things to it. And
That's how it all starts.
Yeah.
and so I got it probably end of summer, and then Black Friday. I talked to my buddy Donnie, and that had his Raptor, and talked.
Man,
to him,
I can relate.
What should I get? Yeah. Black Friday happens, and I ordered some shocks, and I ordered some this, and I ordered some that, and just gonna leave it alone. Well, before I owned the Mount Side Tavern, and I was just hanging out here. I was living in Bellevue at the time, and I was hanging out here with the girls, and we end up, I get a text message from Donnie going, hey, one of our people dropped out. You want to go to Baja? Adult beverages had been consumed. And
So you logically said no.
yeah, so
Mexico is dangerous.
yeah, so
I understand.
So the next morning,
Good for you.
The next morning, I wake up and I'm looking at my phone,
Oh, God.
and I have this email and a PayPal receipt for $500, and I'm like, well, what did I buy for $500?
That could be. I've had worse.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
I had a GTR from that.
Oh, that's right. That's how you bought your GTR. I forgot about that. Like, oh, I bid on that. Oops. Yeah.
and so
You win, Dan. Way to one-up us. I bought shocks. I bought a GTR. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Thanks, Roy.
Thanks, Roy. Yeah.
So I look at my email in the morning, and all of a sudden it's I've put down a $500 deposit to go to Baja with a group of Raptors in this. It's this group called Expedition X Off-Road, EXO, Expedition X Off-Road, and
They were going for were they going for the race, or they were just going down?
Well, no. So what it is it's basically it's two car guys that are friends that started off-roading, and then one of them got a Raptor, and then the other one got a Raptor, and they're like, dang, these are cool. You can do stuff with them. And they liked off-roading, and they liked doing stuff, and then so they started putting together these trips, and they figured out that if they could organize the trip, they could basically get people to pay for their trip.
And this is becoming a big thing because I was the one I was talking to you about, like the Texas Raptors or whatever, and they've done the
Texas
Baja
Raptor Run.
Yeah, those. I mean, it's insane. If you look at some of those videos, like. It will. Okay, first of all, put your wallet, lock it in the safe, then watch the videos. Because you watch these videos, and you're like, "Oh, I want that, and I want that. I don't even have a Raptor, and I want that."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm buying shit for your truck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, I'm signed up, and there's going to be like 12 trucks. I think it's 12 customer trucks and like one or two guide trucks. 2 guide trucks, I think, and then we had like 3 or 4 chase vehicles, and we had trailers. And so we pre-run the entire 500 course. And we get the map from that year's race, and we went out and pre-ran the course.
Were there regulations as far as what your truck needed to have to be on this run?
So,
you know what? Before we talk about how you got kidnapped in Mexico, let's take a first break.
Okay.
We're overdue for first break from Haggerty. We'll be right back.
We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Haggerty for people who love cars.
And that's the 3rd time it happened. Okay, so back to origami and Raptors.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like to be prepared. I tell people that when I go to the track, I like to do 3 things. Eat sandwiches.
Fold paper.
Hang out with my friends. And drive race cars.
Yeah.
I'm not there to adjust the frickin' valves. I'm not there to put a quick alignment on it. A driver's meeting. Hey, man, hey, could you give me a hand real quick? Yeah. The reason I say adjust the valves, I remember being at Laguna Seca one time and this guy being like, hey, man, driver's meeting. After driver's meeting, give me a hand real quick. I'm thinking, like, you need a hand backing you off the trailer. It's like, cool. Like, what you need? And he's like, okay, so I need to adjust the valves. And he's got the valve covers off, and he's got feeler gauges, and he's looking at me like, he's straight, like, honest. Like, he needs to adjust all 16 valves. Like,
well, dude, unless you got a Ducati,
I
I'm
thought
out.
we were talking suspension or, like, put the valve caps on or something. But yeah, okay.
And I'm like,
yeah.
No. I'm sorry, homie. Like, no. Nope. That's not a sandwich.
Yeah.
And you're not one of my friends.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's 2 strikes on me. So
Yeah.
So I like to be prepared. I like to carry more stuff than I need. I like to be prepared. I'm a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
The idea of being prepared, just that's what allows me to sleep at night. That allows me to And
You bastard, Carl.
that's what allows me to enjoy the trip, is being prepared. So I get the truck. I'd bought the shocks on Black Friday, and then I upgraded to 37-inch tires.
Much easier on a Gen 1 than a Gen 2, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So did that, and then I got what's called a bed cage, and that allows you to hold 2 spare tires, 5 gallons of gas,
Jack and
jack handle,
A handle of Jack and
air tank, compressor, everything you need to do like a full swap.
power tank,
Yeah, power tank, yeah.
and then a cooler. I've got 2 quarts of oil, a quart of transmission fluid, a quart of differential fluid, radio, cooler, couple little things, spare fuses, radio, drilling a hole in the roof of your Raptor that you paid sticker for
radios.
a big old antenna.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now you can mount off a third brake light.
Huh?
They have a really cool kit to mount off a third brake light now.
Oh,
But,
okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
beer delivery. All right.
so
The service here is impeccable.
Yeah. It's really, when you're the only customers, it's really easy to get a beer.
so
Man, we'll keep him.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've got all this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, self, you've nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
You are so prepared.
You're over-prepared.
I'm over.
You are over-prepared for this.
I am going to be loaning.
Yeah. You're going to show up and people will be like, I want to be that guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fully.
Look at this guy with all stuff together.
Yep. Look at that.
Fully. And then the night before we leave for the 27-hour tow to San Diego or whatever it is. It never occurred to me before. I'd never seen the fucking internet. I decided to go on EXO's website.
Oh, I bet there's a list there for what you should have, right?
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
They didn't check with you. That's the one thing.
What do you mean you haven't added an extra fuel tank and extra skid
Yeah.
plates?
I'm surprised they didn't email you and check with you, and to make sure that you were ready.
Well, I was Donnie's friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's it.
And
Yeah.
it was just...
Yeah.
It
Donnie wouldn't screw things up.
Well, no. And Donnie, he was he was a wonderful, wonderful friend. And I was literally like, hey, Donnie, what do you do? Hey, Donnie. Hey, Donnie. At first, I was having to go, hey, Eric. Can you ask Donnie? Hey, Eric. Can you ask Donnie? And then one day, he's like,
You
You're
talk to him.
38 years old, dude. Here's his phone.
Yeah. Will you call him and tell him I'm going to call him so he knows that I'm going to call him? We've been there. Yeah.
Just last week. Adam and Cliff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. That is exactly what you know that. Exactly. I was like, hey.
My friend wants to know.
I love how you read through that and I never said it. Like, hey, so
I was just wondering,
we absolutely know each other and my name is in your phone, but I'm not sure of that in my ego. So, yeah.
Yeah, so all of a sudden...
Thank you for reading through that. I really appreciate
got
that.
you.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I realized that I am so underprepared.
Well, that sucked the air out of the room. And
What do you mean you don't have a spare fuel pump and a fuel skid plate?
Why didn't you bring an extra Raptor?
I got a Raptor.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Good
You're
to
just
go.
like,
Did you drive it down too?
No.
Oh, you trailered it?
So
Pussy.
doing track days, I learned that
Things break on the way to the track.
if the car doesn't have to get home on its own, it won't.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
It just knows it.
Yeah.
And if you have to drive it home, it's just a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And and all of a sudden it's like, and this is literally, you're in a foreign country.
Literally. Yeah.
You're like, huh. Baja's a trip because if they find, so you're in Baja and they just have random border stops, they have random military checks, you'll be going down this road and they'll just catch up to you on a bike and tell you to pull over and they're going to search you.
Yeah. They say drugs are a problem there. I don't know if I believe it.
Yeah, right. And if they find an empty .22 shell casing because you took your daughter to the range and it fell under the floor mat, you are getting yeeted out of your truck.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
they're going to start unbolting stuff. They are going to start yelling at you.
I'm going to clean the truck.
Dude, it's no joke. Yeah. It is no joke. Don't have a weapon. Don't have a knife.
Yeah, nothing down there.
Don't have anything. And if you don't speak Spanish, don't start. Do not, because they don't have the patience for it.
Yeah.
And you literally just are trying to, you're nervous, and you just literally go, see? And they'll just be like, boom, English is now over. This whole thing will be now happening in Spanish. Keep up, homie. And you're just like, see?
Una cerveza, por favor?
Yeah, and so it's a trip.
I'm laughing because I drove up here from Renton today, and I put it in Waze, and it's like, you have 5 miles to the Mount Si Tavern.
For the longest,
and then it was C Tavern.
For the longest time, it was the Mount C. You're like, huh?
Mount Yes Tavern.
Yeah, not Yes Tavern, yeah. So I'm assuming that happened then. You got pulled over, and you got the cavity search?
I didn't get the cavity search, luckily.
Bummer.
I that's one of those things, is I did Boy Scout out on that thing. Because I did a lot, once again, I did a lot to the truck in a couple of weeks, because it was 6 weeks from me, after some aiming fluid, signing up for the Mexico trip. It was 6 weeks, and all of a sudden I went from being a stock Raptor on 3.0 shocks. So for those of you out there that aren't familiar with off-road shocks are measured in diameter.
Yeah. So
you have stock shock on a Raptor is a 2.5 remote reservoir. That means it has a little piggyback on the backside, and that allows you to carry more oil, as they were talking about earlier.
Yep.
The more oil you have, the longer you can go with less heat, and then you have more area for the heat to dissipate. And then you have nitrogen charging on it, and you've got a little bladder and little seals and stuff like that. So on the big trucks, like my big Raptor has what's called a 4.0 and a 4.4. So 4.0 in the front and a 4.4 in the rear. And so it's 4.4 inches in diameter, the shock is, and then it's got all sorts of little valves.
Which, for our listeners, is huge, by the way.
I also think we need to clarify the fact that he goes, on my big Raptor. How many Raptors do you have right now? 3? 4? 3. 3. 3.5, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
So
he drank the Kool-Aid, people.
Yeah.
Oh, so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. And so get down. So in 6 weeks, I turned the truck into a 3-seater, because at the end of the day, you have a bench seat in the rear, which is not fun for anybody. And I have a unique situation of I live in a threesome. So I've been married to my wife.
You and 2 Raptors. It's a great way to...
Right?
I don't think I should probably describe your wife that way, but... No, yeah, okay, yeah. Ignore the nodding from the crowd. Yeah, no.
So
okay.
so I live in a threesome.
So you made enough room for the people in your life.
So we can have 3 adults in the truck, and that way nobody's like, well, Rochambeau to see who gets to ride in the bench seat. And
right.
It's like, because I'll be driving.
Yeah.
So the captain's chairs in the front plus a center-mounted seat.
Yep. Fight each other for the bench seat. I'll film it.
So what I did at first is I got so off-roading is a brutal world. My experience with off-roading up to this was like a little bit of wheeling as a kid and like RC trucks. And I start looking into this stuff, and they have seats that have suspension in them.
Yeah.
Like they have webbing, and so you can have 4 inches of travel
in the seat. Yeah, which if you don't in a Baja truck you would literally break your back. If you were racing Baja, I don't mean running the track. I mean, if you were racing it, you would break your back.
It's in the seat. It's not like what we think of like a semi seat where there's like a bus.
No, so the seat is bolted down to the floor pan or to the cage, depending upon your style. And then what it has is, think of like an apple pie.
Yeah,
it's got a crisscross applesauce webbing of like 3-inch wide webbing underneath that isn't really elastic, but it's not.
There's some give to it.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so in this, it gives your butt 4 inches of travel. So what you'll see a lot of the time is the driver will have a proper fiberglass one-piece race seat.
Yeah, we're strapped in hard.
And they're strapped in hard, and they can see, and they're driving. And so they can, you can do that little butt pucker, and you can do that pickup, and you can do that, well, here I come, Jesus, and I'll see you next time, maybe.
I think this is a good point. Like these runs that you're doing in the Raptor runs, you're not puttering like at 5 miles an hour down the road. I mean, you are using this truck for what it was meant for. You're not necessarily going at race speeds for the whole time, but you
are
are
beyond what it was meant for. But not Baja 1000.
I have a shot of my GPS on me on the dry lake bed in Baja doing 118.
Cool.
And you're just,
just flat out
10, 15 minutes of just between 113 and 118 was the highest I saw.
My point was, you guys, this is sort of a luxury. You're stopping everywhere. Like, well, this is not like you're not actually racing.
It takes us. So the Baja 500, the race takes them like what? Depending upon the vehicle, it takes them 8 to 12 hours or something like that. We do it in 3 days.
Yeah. That's my point. I wanted to get clear in the fact that you guys weren't like you're stopping and having nice
we're stopping
dinners.
for tacos.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, yeah, damn straight you
Which
are.
we should also clarify is still very fast for that run.
It's still, yeah.
So say if I was going to run that in my stock Raptor, that's a week minimum.
Yep.
Yeah, bare minimum, and I'd probably break a lot on the way.
Well, you're talking like basically driving across Washington State every day off road.
Yep. Yeah.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Fun.
And a stock Raptor can do it. You are going to bend your license plate. You are going to drag your bumper in a couple of places. With a Gen 2, you are going to smash your exhaust.
Yep, for sure. I've already dragged it a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
stupid exhaust.
With the modifications that I had at the time, I jumped the truck at 90 miles an hour. I was able to go through some small whoops at 70 miles an hour.
There's nothing cooler than watching a Raptor go through the whoops. Like,
dude.
Yeah. You see those shots like in California, Baja, and like they'll be driving on the road and the Raptor's next to it, just watching those wheels pop up and down.
Well, that's how it got expensive for me.
Oh, that's when it got expensive?
So, like you said, I got bit hard. Mm-hmm. So, bought the Raptor, did this first run in May.
Of what year? 18, 19?
16?
16. Okay.
I think 16?
Yeah.
So, May, go to Baja for the first time. Totally fell in love. Smashed the shit out of the side of my truck. And was like laughing about it. It was so much fun. 6 months later, I dropped the truck off to go under the knife because I made the mistake of riding in a 4-linked Raptor. And that was stupid. And in that 6-month period, I put 4,000 miles of dirt miles on the truck.
That's awesome.
We went to Canada 3 times. We did the Baja 500 with EXO twice. We did this run where we started off in Nevada and then went through to the backside of the Grand Canyon on dirt.
You know that road, yeah.
And then from there,
of course you do.
I haven't driven. I know the road. I want to do it. Yeah.
And then went into Utah, and went into
Moab there.
No, Zion.
Oh yeah.
And
favorite place on earth.
Yeah, and did that whole thing, and it was just like, it was like we were talking about with the dirt bikes. It was, hey man, you want to go on this epic 3-day, 4-day long trip, and in Mexico, the trips were insane, and the food and the people. Because I got to say, like, Baja is not Mexico; it's Baja. Like, I'd be pretty hard pressed to go to Mexico with everything that's going on.
Baja's like small town happiness for everybody I've talked to. Like when they go down there, it's just like
and
cool people, cool food,
and the landmarks that are there because of the race.
Yeah,
and then
it's awesome.
You take stickers with you, and this is one of those things that always just brings a smile to my face and blows my mind. Is you're in America, and you're on some dirt road wheeling, and you come across a couple, a family, whatever, hiking. And you slow down to a snail's pace, and you try not to kick up any dirt.
Right.
And they wave at you, and You go on.
And they go to REI and complain about you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're ruining the environment.
Yeah.
In Mexico, if you're on the race course, they don't care if you're in a trophy truck, in a Raptor, in a Nissan Sentra.
Yeah, they just go fast and make it look awesome. They're all about send it.
They want you to roost them so hard, chuck rocks at them,
Yeah.
and go by at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's because they know their cousin down the road dug a huge pit for you. So,
Fully.
yeah.
If you come,
I've seen those videos,
if
too.
you come around a corner
yeah.
and some kid's sitting there with an iPhone, get on the brakes.
Yeah. Why is there a blanket in the road? Shit. Yeah.
Yep. Why is that kid got that shit-eating grin? Get on the brakes.
He's hunting chupacabra, sir.
Why does that kid in the middle of Mexico have a brand new iPhone? Oh, crap.
I think I'm about to be on 1320 videos.
I'm going to be on YouTube. Yeah.
So I made the mistake of my second trip to Baja
Within 6 months.
of 6 months
Yeah.
of riding in a 4-link truck.
So we should back up. A 4-link suspension in the rear.
In the rear,
it's,
yeah.
it's referring to the rear suspension. It's sort of, I guess, the closest thing I can equate it to that somebody would recognize would be like a performance quad, like a. That's kind of the
Like a side-by-side.
yeah, like a side-by-side would have a 4-link on it. So for our listeners who aren't familiar, it's just like it's a massive overhaul of your rear suspension, allows way more articulation. And when you see those videos of those trucks hitting a rhythm section or whoop section, as they call it, with the bumps like every 20 feet or so, and they're just flying through 100 miles an hour, and it looks like the cab's not
touching
moving.
the top of it.
Yeah, it's just like barely moving. That's because they have a rear 4-link, and that suspension is made for high-speed off-road. So, like, at a squat stop, the truck actually looks kind of low, but it has tons of give, tons of articulation, and you can just haul ass through stuff that I would be crawling through in 4 low.
Go on YouTube and look for anybody that's put a GoPro inside their wheel well on a 4-link, and just, it's mesmerizing to watch because it's like, physics is cool.
But it's also one of those things where you don't realize how smooth it is in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
For the mountain bikers out there, remember 26-inch tires, and then went to 27.5, and then went to 29s. And that rolling momentum you have and that ability to go through a hole or that ability to go over something, it's the same thing with tires. And so finally, tire wars have come to a temporary halt as trophy trucks have limited the tires now to 42 inches tall.
That's huge.
Absolutely huge. But the cool thing is, trophy truck race, there could be 15 trophy trucks, but there could be 300 other cars in other classes.
Yeah.
And
Side-by-sides,
plus
bikes.
the pre-runners that are running for the trophy trucks that have pretty much the same suspension as the trophy trucks,
Yeah.
but have air conditioning and a DVD player.
Yep. And so all of a sudden, you could have side-by-sides on 31s or 32s. You could have a Volkswagen Bug on 31s. And when they make a hole from getting stuck or going through whoop sections or going through acceleration bumps, all those different things that occur on the course, the bigger tire that you have, the less energy you lose in those places. Because all of a sudden, sometimes you won't even touch the bottom of certain holes because your tire is so big, you just go over the top of the hole. So between the tire and the suspension, and so the other side of the suspension, besides just being massively huge with a whole bunch of oil in them, is so race cars and performance street cars, stuff like that, you think of a damper being one-way adjustable, two-way adjustable, three-way adjustable, and that gives you usually a one-way is adjustable compression with a rebound tied to it, if the rebound's adjustable at all. Two-way is rebound compression and rebound. And then once you get into three-way, four-way, five-way shocks, stuff like that, you start getting into
Jealousy.
You get into
3-ways cause jealousy. I mean, I wouldn't know. But okay.
But sorry.
you get into
Couldn't help it.
It was too easy. It's like, I can't do it. I can't. Okay, yeah, sorry.
But what you get into is you have high-speed compression, low-speed compression, high-speed rebound, low-speed rebound,
But it's all built into the same shock.
But it's all on the same shock.
Yeah.
And you have, and it's based on shaft speed of the actual damper. And so a high speed is that really fast compression when you hit a curb.
Yeah.
That low speed is that little rumble you get going down the back straightaway at Road America, and you just get in that settle. And so that's your low speed and your high speed. Well, in trucks, we have what's called bypasses. And so you'll look at the shock, and it's not a smooth body, smooth bore shock like you see on a street truck or something like that, you know, a little KYB damper type of thing. It's got all these tubes that are welded on the outside, and then they've got adjustments and locking lock nuts and stuff like that.
Which, if you don't know how to use, you don't need. There you go. End of story.
Fully.
But they're pretty.
And if you're taking setups from Gran Turismo, stop.
Every time I see a bro truck
get
with
them from
those,
Forza.
Yeah.
every time I see a bro truck on 24s with those, I'm like, this better be a SEMA build.
Bluetooth drive shaft.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the shocks that I have on the Big Raptor are 7-way bypasses. And so we don't do high speed and low speed. We do short stroke and long stroke because you're either hitting a little bump, a medium bump, or a big bump. It's like Baby Bear and Melon Bear. And so what ends up happening is you have different zones. And the shocks are actually one of these things that you don't know until you don't know what you don't know, is those shocks are incredibly loud because as the piston inside the damper is going past a zone, a valve slams shut audibly.
Yeah. Click, 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 click.
And you can just hear it, and all of a sudden it sounds like every rod end and heim joint on the entire car is just blown up all at once. And you're like, this is not safe to drive. And it's actually the $4,000 shock you just bought. Just click, 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 click.
That's not annoying, though, right?
Oh, God, no. And if you have a cage truck, it's attached to the cage in the rear, and then the cage goes right above your head.
Yeah.
And it's like a little speaker. It's like
Speaking to me.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So taking a ride in a 4-link truck has not only a stock Raptor, 12 inches of travel,
Which is a lot, for the record. For a street truck is insane.
Huge. Modified, couple of bolt-ons, you can get to 16 inches of travel pretty easily. My Big Raptor is 24 inches of travel in the rear and 19 inches of travel in the front. And between the articulation in the rear of the 4-link, but then the shocks with the different valving, you can go through. So I have 40-inch tires on that one. I can go through a 34-inch deep hole at 35 miles an hour, and you could have a cup of coffee in your hand.
Folding origami.
Or be folding origami.
Yes. Yeah, you rock crawler guys out there, they're like, that's not very much. We're like, well, think about doing this at 100 and not 5. That's the difference here. It's like the rock crawlers are out there, like if you built a fully built Jeep.
A Jeep, whatever.
They are a Jeep.
On 37s or 40s or something, you might see 30-plus inches of articulation, but that's at 5 miles an hour at the most.
Yeah.
And I've always said that the only reason I don't like rock crawling is because if I'm going to die in a truck, it better be triple digits. Not 3 miles an hour is like tumble into a crevasse for like 4 hours. It's just like, nah.
Yeah, so these are very different setups and very different specs is what I'm trying to get across. It's those numbers mean very different things when you're adding speed to the equation.
I mean, this truck, and Dan and I got to see it. It's gorgeous. Have you done anything engine transmission-wise to be able to turn 40s?
So
those engines are great, but
So stock engine, Ford is a huge fan of overhead cams.
Yeah,
they won't let it go. So what they did is cast iron block, aluminum heads, single overhead cam, and then to be able to push the big tires and the gearing and stuff, it's supercharged. 6-speed transmission.
They came supercharged, right? From the no, they didn't come.
You
Okay.
could option it from Roush, but then there's people do Pro Chargers, but the most common and the best in my opinion, is the Whipple.
But the original Raptors came with a V8, and the new one's like
5.4 V8, then a 6.2, then the V6. That's
and now they're going
GT.
back to the.
Yeah, Ford compensates for power with boost a lot, like naturally aspirated power. They go to boost, and now they're going to the Mustang GT500 motor to compete with the TRX.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is it's cool, but limited use. And when you get into his Specialized, I'll let you continue with.
Have you heard anything good about the TRX? Like I haven't seen one single thing that's.
It's got the nicest interior on a truck I've ever seen.
And it doesn't have tow mirrors. So Dodge guys can't fold them up.
Okay. I haven't seen anything good. Like, I mean, people are going, yeah, you go off-road and you get, like, less than a mile a gallon and all this crap. It's just
good for ego, and it has a beautiful interior.
Yeah,
I have serious interior envy.
Fair enough.
That's where it ends.
Okay.
So we joke around about the Raptors, especially when you supercharge them and you put big tires on them, is they'll pass anything but a gas station.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. What's your gas mileage? I don't know. All the way to the next gas station?
Yes.
I've never done the math.
Eventually I'll get there. Yeah.
So
you're supercharged.
So I was supercharged.
On the stock block.
Stock block.
Okay.
Cast iron block. But cast iron block, aluminum head, supercharged, and 6-speed transmission. Mm-hmm. So the drivetrain on that thing damn near goes bumper to bumper. And weighs like an ungodly amount. Like motor and transmission is something like 1,100 pounds.
I think the transmission in my truck weighs as much as the motor.
Yeah, it's unreal because
but
you're in the
10-speed.
10-speed.
Yeah.
And this isn't F1 tech. I remember when they went from the 7-speed to the 6-speed, but they had to keep the gearbox the same length.
Yeah.
So for that year, it was like 2007 or something like that, or 3 years, whatever. Anyway, but the final drive gears were 8 millimeters thick.
So just huge.
Just putting like 900 horsepower through an 8 millimeter thick gear.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Anyway,
Where could it fail?
Yeah, right. What could possibly go wrong? Quit clutch kicking that thing. So trucks, and you don't know what you don't know. When you ride a dirt bike and you see a hole coming up, if you're not already standing, stand up. You should be standing anyways if you're on a freaking dirt bike.
Yeah.
Get your weight back. A little bit of throttle, a lot of throttle, depending upon your skill, because that's going to transfer weight off of the front to the rear, make the front end light. And depending upon your skill level, you may even pull up on the bars. When you're strapped into your truck...
Just have this visual of like some guy pulling on the wheel.
Oh, fully.
The front end's not coming up.
Yeah. Oh, no, I still do it out of habit. That muscle memory has never left me.
You're not lifting
Anything.
shit. And what 90% of the average cat does is when you get scared in a car, you get on the brakes.
Oh, I was going to say close my eyes.
You get off. You get
off the gas and you slam on the brakes.
You get off the gas.
Yeah.
And you get on the brakes
Which sinks the front end.
that'll make all the problems
Go away.
They'll go slower.
Yeah. You won't go into that hole as deep.
It's like boating. People are like, oh man, you take the boat up to Alaska? No. Why not? You can't get off that thing. You're like, you know what? I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna go ahead and have lunch over. No, you're on the boat, stupid. So the truck is you're on the truck. You don't just like, oh, I'm just gonna get off real quick. This got scary. It's like, no. Wait till the vehicle comes to a complete stop before arms will be at hand.
All of this stuff works at speed.
Yeah. And so you see the hole, and if you're not a dirt biker, your first instinct is, the Homer Simpson, and then
pucker,
lift off the gas and slam on the brakes. Well, depending upon your vehicle weight, suspension, we'll say like, I don't know, a Raptor that weighs like 7,000 pounds. You lift, just lifting, you can transfer over 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Now you get on the brakes, and you've taken away travel, and you've taken away your roll.
Your suspension's fully compressed, so you just basically got two straight rods going straight from the tires. You better hope your tires got a lot of sidewall because you're going to compress it all the way.
Yep.
And then you're just going to slam your suspension into the ground, and you're going to feel every bit of it. Yeah.
Yep. And so
Sounds like neither one of you've ever done that.
No, never.
no.
What are you talking about?
Of course not. No. Okay, yeah.
I've never learned things the hard way.
And so
Multiple times.
So what you do is you, in that situation where you're going too fast, you've made a mistake, you're going to hit that hole, stay on the brakes as long as you can to slow down, but then before you get to it,
Gas it.
get on that gas as hard as you can, transfer that weight to the back, get the front end light, give yourself a fighting chance to get through this thing without getting bucked. So, and also the other thing that you see guys do their first time is the first time they jump, if they're not expecting it, if you get on the brakes, everybody knows you land immediately.
And you set off the airbags immediately.
Yeah, it's just like penguins. They love vanilla ice cream. Everybody knows that. So, if you hit,
I'm sorry. I'm usually saying the weird, stupid shit. What did you just?
so there's this penguin, and he's driving along in his car, and the car starts making a noise.
Just escalated quickly.
Yeah.
And he drives into a mechanic, and he goes to the mechanic, and he goes, "Hey, my car's making a noise. I don't know what it is." And the mechanic's like, "Okay, well, I don't really have anything going on. I'll throw it up on the lift. Come back in an hour, and I'll tell you what's going on." Well, the penguin goes walking along, sees an ice cream shop. Everybody knows that penguins love vanilla ice cream. He goes in, gets a cone of vanilla ice cream. And he's sitting there, and he's walking along the park, and he's eating his ice cream. He looks at his watch. He goes, "Oh, shit, it's been an hour. I got to get back to the shop." He finishes up his ice cream, and he waddles back over to the shop, and he gets to the shop, and the mechanic's just closing the hood, doing the old classic rag with the hands thing, and he goes, And he looks up, and he goes, "Well, looks like you blew a seal." And the penguin's like, "Oh, no, it's just vanilla ice cream."
I walked into that one. I think I knew that joke too. Yeah, exactly. It's like you'd be.
So,
Well, I'm tagging this one explicit. Less editing. It's fine.
I walked right through that door. Like I know that joke, but in a different way. And I'm like, damn it. Okay, yeah, great, super. Looks like you blew a seal. No, I was eating ice cream. You bastard. This friendship's going to go for a long time. I'm going to have a plaque here eventually. Yeah. So, yeah.
So two guys walking down the street.
Thank you. No.
Two guys walking down the street. They see this dog licking his balls. First guy's like, "God, I wish I could do that." Second guy's like, "Don't try that. He'll bite you."
You know, this really sums up the type of people we are.
This is the type of people you attract.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, Mom.
So, just as penguins love vanilla ice cream, everybody knows that, as we've learned in the cartoons, that if you hit the brakes, the truck will immediately land, all four wheels, safe and sound, and it'll stop your scary. The problem is you've now just taken away the ability for the truck to roll. That's literally what the brakes do. And so you've just effectively landed with the e-brake on.
Yeah.
And so the car doesn't want to roll. And if you're in this 7,000-pound Raptor, I have literally seen guys just shear ball joints.
Yeah.
And it just wraps up like one of those F1 failures. You're just like,
Yeah, you see the tires literally come under the truck. It's amazing failure.
But you're now in BFE
Yeah.
with no front wheels.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't need them.
no way to put them on.
Yeah.
And we've strapped skid plates to the bottom of lower control arms, and you drive the thing out like a snowmobile, or drag it out.
You made a comment before the Penguins Love Ice Cream about the fact that when you go off the jump, not hitting the brakes because landing, it could set off the airbags. Is that why the car would think? Because I've seen some people jump Raptors.
It's just that you have no suspension.
Yeah.
And so because there's no give, what happens is you hit the ground.
Yeah,
Like
and-
it'll hit so hard.
and those shock sensors go off.
No, so the way airbags work, we've talked about this before, is there's a little check ball basically, and as it hits...
Potentiometer, if you will.
Yeah, thank you. And as you hit the front end of the truck, it will hit so hard that it will drive the bumper into the ground. You'll literally physically hit the ground, and it will appropriately set off the airbags. It's not a mistake.
So you can do it accidentally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you slam on the brakes midair, that's exactly what's going to happen. And I've seen it happen. If you do YouTube...
That was kind of my point of the question.
You'll see far more Raptor fails than you will see successful jumps because people know what they're doing.
So Gen 2 Raptors, their suspension modes are kind of like the Range Rover We've got sand and terrain and snow and country club and, all these different settings.
Baja, I'm good.
Yeah, fully. It's got a setting.
I've got it in Baja. We're good.
Yeah.
Ford handled this.
Thanks, officer.
Yeah.
I'm fine. You're right. This color does look good at speed.
Thank you.
Yeah, like anytime the course marshal, if you get black flag, start apologizing.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever calling you in to tell you how good your car looked at speed. Or, man, that paint job looks good on you. It really does.
Sometimes you get black flagged on a go-kart course when it's not really your fault, Dan.
Still passed him.
Yeah. He passed me, spun me into the corner. We both spin, and I get flagged.
Strategery.
Remember Blades of Steel?
Yeah.
And the loser of the fight went to the penalty box?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that's how hockey worked for the longest time.
Makes sense. Makes sense, yeah.
Anyway.
So weight distribution, moving weight around is very, very important. And so like you were talking about also with like airbag setting off, the Gen 2 Raptor, like we were talking about, has all these different settings. The Gen 1 Raptor has what's called off-road mode. Okay. And it has this little round button, and it says off-road mode. And at first, much like any other stock thing, it's like, that's stupid. And what's that do? Turns on my defrosted mirrors or something? What is this?
Heat your seat while you're waiting off-road. Yeah.
Fully. Well, what it actually does on the Raptor is it does a couple of cool things, and it does one stupid thing.
Okay.
But you can undo it. Oh. So
pull X fuse.
Kind of, but so what ends up happening is off-road mode, it desensitizes your airbags.
Yeah.
So that when you do take an impact like that, it goes, oh, you're off-road. You didn't hit something hard enough. You probably smashed the bumper down.
Right.
You didn't hit a cactus or something.
Yeah.
As you're sitting there with no teeth going, why didn't the airbags go off?
It makes the ABS come in later.
Yeah, a little less sensitive.
You can actually get the tires to lock up on dirt just a little bit, which is neat, which is very, very useful. ABS is not your friend in the dirt. But one of the bad things that it also changes your shift points. It'll allow you to hold gears longer and different things like that. And but what it does poorly, not poorly, but what the ill effect that it has is what it does is it's fly-by-wire vehicle. So there's no link between your foot and the actual throttle body. It's all done with the computer. And it slows down the response.
Yeah, because what it's anticipating is bump, and then you will bump the throttle.
Bump the throttle, and then all of a sudden,
yeah.
And you get into this oscillation where you're being fed by the vibration or the bump, and So it dumbs down the throttle, and so for you to get like 50% throttle, you have to go to like 3/4, and then anything from 3/4 on is normal.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot of time playing that thing like a wah-wah pedal because you're trying to get the actual response, and then you're off of it. So
it's always good to do math when you're off-road, too.
Oh, fully.
Yeah.
So
with your toes.
There's a device out there called a pedal commander.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't like them. They think they're stupid. They don't think they work. There's no point. And a lot of the times, because if you do a tune, you can have whoever does your tune, if it's an off-the-shelf tune or if you have a custom tune, you can have them change your throttle response most of the time. But when you go into off-road mode, it still goes to dumb down.
Yeah.
Regardless, if you have the fanciest throttle response in the world, once you go into off-road mode, which I recommend when you take your Raptor off-road, so what you do is you put a pedal commander on it, and you bump it back up, and it changes the sensitivity, and it gives it a more linear feel of steering or of throttle input to throttle body output.
Yeah. I have to laugh. I got to throw something there because I was laughing earlier. So the tool you use to modify the factory settings, like on mine, like if I want to leave the daytime, yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. If you want to like leave the daytime running lights as the outside and not have them turn on the headlights, or you want all your windows to roll down at once, there's a tool for that. It's called ForeScan.
Okay. Did you take the forescan off your Raptor?
I have a forescan tool for my Raptor.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's our fun fact.
Yeah. So with the pedal commander and with the off-road mode and the weight transfer of getting that throttle response, that's why it's so important to be able to get the motor and the transmission to do now, is so that you can transfer weight. You see a hole or whatever it may be. So long way to Tipperary to answer your question about my big Raptor.
If you see a hole, lean back.
Is because of how heavy that drivetrain in is.
There's so much weight over the front wheels, yeah.
And there's so much weight over the front wheels. I decided to go a different route, and I believe in LSing the world.
I do too.
So I put in a LS3 from a company called Danzio, who builds off-road race motors. But this is actually a pre-runner motor. It's designed for pre-runner trucks. It's called the Joneses motor because everybody's always trying to keep up with the Joneses. So they call it the Joneses motor. It's 600 horsepower on 91 octane pump gas.
Supercharged?
Nope, normally aspirated.
Normally aspirated LS. Okay. All right. Nice.
4-speed automatic with a manual reverse valve body. So you do have to physically shift it into gears. If you just put it into 4, it'll actually be in 4th gear and try to take off in 4th gear. So you actually have to shift 1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's the torque curve is very broad on this motor. So you can hold it in 3rd from 60 to 100.
Yep.
And it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not like my 10-speed where it's like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back and forth all the time.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just like
Pretty much the only reason that I have the 4-speed, because a lot of trucks just run a 3-speed. The reason I have a 4-speed is because the way we'll do the 500 pre-run is we'll go to all the way down. We'll finish in Ensenada, and we'll be 3 hours from the border on the freeway. And so all of a sudden, if you're in a 3-speed, you're doing like 6,500 RPM.
yeah, so you have an overdrive.
So that gives me the ability that I'll spend most of my time in 2nd and 3rd gear, 2nd and 3rd gear, 2nd and 3rd gear. But then as soon as we hit the freeway to get home, I can put that thing in 4th and just
cruise
oh.
at a comfortable 7 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
He's getting 7.
No.
Yeah, that thing's got a 60-gallon cell in it.
I was going to say, yeah, with 40-plus inch tires, man, that's a whole nother ball game of needed torque and mileage.
Rear differential is a 543.
Yeah. Let's take our next break. We're running this episode long intentionally. I want to talk more about, because your off-road isn't just like you got decided like, oh, I like off-road. Like you actually have some real experience with that I want to talk more to our listeners about. We'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
for people who love cars.
And we're back. So we're talking about Baja and all that, but you've done a lot of off-road driving that is beyond Baja, that is also beyond trucks. You had a lot of time at Dirtfish, so you know what's up with off-road in all angles.
So I'm sure your listeners are very familiar with a man named Ted Anthony Jr.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
And so I'm from California, moved up here with my wife, racing. I got into drifting, was doing the drifting thing for a while, and there's a race in California that I wanted to do, the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill. Awesome race. My wife finds on like a Craigslist type of ad that a guy in Arizona is on one of the NASA forums, National Auto Sports Association, who puts on the 25 hours, that one of the drivers for his 25-hour team out of Seattle had a driver drop out, and he's from Arizona, and he's going to be flying up to California for the race. And so we find this last minute. I meet this man named Jason Vienne. He had rain racing and grip racing, stuff like that. So we did the 25 hours together. Through that, I met Ted Anthony Jr., and Ted goes, hey, I'm an instructor out at Dirtfish. You have experience instructing, and you've got the personality. As a driving instructor, you don't have to be the fastest driver. You need to be I always say that you're supposed to be like the 80s ski school instructor from the movies.
We're going to have a great pow-pow today.
It's going to be a great day. It's a great day to be alive, man.
Absolutely.
All the dudes should want to be you. All the chicks should want to buy you a beer.
I was say, sleeping with all the lonely housewives? Because that's every 80s movie I've seen.
And so, and you're supposed to be this...
Ski instructors, Dan.
This 80s...
Sleeping with other people's wives, but
I
not
saw Aspen Extreme. Yeah, everybody, all of our older guests are like, oh, yeah, Aspen Extreme. There's a name I haven't heard in ever.
Yep.
Warren Miller had it right.
Yeah. Yes.
Fully.
Warren Miller was the man.
I saw Aspen Extreme in theaters before our middle school ski trip. Yeah.
I want to be that guy.
Fully. And so it was just, that was always that idea is you have the coolest job in the world. You drive race cars for a living, but it's that you are supposed to recognize what they're doing, recognize the person, recognize their learning style, see what they're doing wrong, generate in your head, and at Dirtfish, you're sliding in a Subaru at 40 miles an hour sideways.
So fun.
In second gear, and you're watching the person's feet and hands, seeing what they're doing, and it is a school, and you are the teacher, so you are seeing what they're doing wrong, and then recognizing their way of learning, and then creating what we call in instructing the shit sandwich. Where
You're going to kill both of us.
No, it's
you're doing great. I really liked how you did this, but
yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
you
start
do
off.
Shit sandwich.
You start off with a compliment.
Yeah.
You give them the correction. You end with another compliment.
Great life lesson.
And that's your shit sandwich.
Doing a great job. Everything is wrong, but you're doing a great job.
There have been times where we have literally taught somebody how to drive stick in the rally car, and they're almost in tears. They're not getting it. They're wanting to hang out with their friend or their spouse or whatever it is, and they're not necessarily enjoying it. And then
It clicks.
you get the aha moment, and they get out of their own way, and they use the technique. They use what they learned in the classroom. They use what you have been yelling in their fucking helmet. And all of a sudden...
We've all been yelled at by an instructor, so that's why it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, I don't understand. Oh, that's what you were saying the last 2 hours? I got it now.
So
That was called school, Nick.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Same here.
Yeah.
my father was a pilot in the Air Force. You're not allowed.
Steeper learning curve.
You're not allowed to wear any jewelry in the airplane.
Yeah.
Well, the pilots found out that when you are instructing, you wear your wedding ring always. You pop a fool in the helmet with a wedding ring. You ever play football and have somebody throw a rock at your ear hole?
Yeah, that. Oh, God. Yeah, I know.
Your helmet has never come off faster.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget being like 17 years old at Laguna Seca, driving the track for the first time in my dad's Sunbeam Tiger, and I did something he didn't like. I still don't know what I did.
At least you learned.
Oh, not to let him in the car anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That sound.
Yeah.
So...
it's a good way to get you to drive off the road.
Oh, seriously. Felt a tick there. And so when you have this situation at Dirtfish, it's so fun to get that aha moment because driving on dirt is unlike anything.
Yeah.
If you watch any of those Group B rally races from the 80s,
Love those.
you watch any of the rally racing, when you're doing it, when you are fully doing it, the steering wheel, does not go past 1030 or 130.
Even in hard U-turns. Yeah.
Full everything. If you get to 90, that is, oh my God, everything's gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, you're using inertia to move the car. You're
Everything.
Not using...
It's all balance. It's
Yes.
all weight transfer.
Yep.
The suspension on a rally car and the same thing on the truck is so soft. So articulation and that weight balance is so important. And so, like, at Dirtfish, one of the first things we have you do in the car is we start off on a skid pad. And we've got the classic, 300-foot skid pad. And you drive in a circle, and it's all gravel because it's a rally car. And you drive in a circle, and as you start going faster and faster and faster, the car just pushes and pushes and pushes, and you get farther and farther away, and you're to the point where I'm trying to go over there, and the car is on its own. And so you end up, you don't have that grip that you would have on the street or on the track. Rally racing is closer to drag racing than it is to a lot of different sports, than a lot of other motorsports, because you are trying to straighten out everything.
Yeah.
You can't maintain a lot of grip in the corner.
Straighten in the curves, flying in the hills.
And so
Making their way. No, that's
true,
all
though.
that's in my head right now. Just a good old boy.
Thanks, Waylon. Anyway, yeah, it's true, though.
And that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
And so at Dirtfish, one of the things that we teach is that circle doesn't work. So we turn that into a square.
Yeah.
And you go in a straight line, and then you use the technique that you're taught to use your steering wheel as, think of it as like a rudder on a boat.
Yeah.
You're just using it to start
the rotation.
the rotation,
Yeah.
but it happens all in your feet. And you spend the entire time, like, you left foot brake a rally car.
Yep.
All the time. And if you're in a front wheel drive rally car, like, you're running like 15, 20% brake at all time.
Yeah.
And that just keeps weight transfer on the nose. Like we said on the Raptor, you don't want to land with that weight on the nose. You are doing that almost on purpose with the rally car because you're keeping weight on the nose.
You want grip because you don't have any grip up the front, and
don't
you want
have any.
precise movement, so you have to keep all that weight over where you turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so by using the technique and by getting the person to trust the technique, but I remember when I went out there and first drove, they had I guess you'd call it kind of like an open call for driving instructors, but you had to, it was a friend of a friend. You had to come with a recommendation. So
Yeah.
Ted Anthony Jr. threw my name in the hat, and I show up, and there's some of the guys I had met before in other racing. There's some guys that I had heard about in the Northwest, different stuff like that. And some of these guys were hot shoes. Some of them were newer to track day, stuff like that. And it was interesting to see how different driving on the dirt was compared to driving on the street and driving on the track and driving. I mean, I've driven formula cars, I've driven touring cars, drift cars, all these different things. And I had and I had a Subaru for years and years and years. That, I rallied around all over the place, so I thought. And you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, one of the instructors teaches you like they would a student. And you can try all you want to not use the technique because you know better. You've driven a car. You've slid a car around. You've done a burnout. You've slid around a corner before.
I did donuts in a high school parking lot in my Subaru. I'm good at this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got this down. And it was, it got to the point where you recognize certain aspects of clients that, they come in, they tell you about their favorite car, they tell you about what car they drive, or they show up wearing clothing of that vehicle. And you kind of realize that you're going to be on a little bit of an uphill battle on this one.
Yeah.
Because there's ego involved. It's still a motorsport.
Yeah.
It's even though it's a school and you're literally paying this person to tell you what you don't know. You're going to argue with them because there's ego. And
I'm not paying you to listen.
Yeah. and obviously you wouldn't be here if you didn't know something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like that's literally what I did. Like
Very few people get in the car with an instructor, and the instructor gets out and goes, I learned something.
Right? Yeah,
I learned I never want to be in the car with that guy again.
I can't remember what episode. I think it was with Curtis Krieger from Proformance, where we with Andrew and everybody else. We have beat this into people's heads for 100 episodes now. If you go to a racing school, track, off-road, dirt fish, motorcycle, downhill mountain bike coming up, you walk in, you know nothing. Whatever they tell you to do. It will make your life so much easier if you're like, this is what I think I know, correct me. And if you have that attitude, check your ego at the door. Trust me, they do this for a living. We don't.
And I think be honest with an instructor. Look at him and go, look, I have done this. I took instruction here. I've gone out. I've done donuts in a parking lot, because that is a skill. There is a skill.
Yeah.
Be honest with somebody, but also when somebody goes, look, you're doing this wrong, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Even if it feels wrong in your mind.
There's a saying from the Air Force that you never pass up an opportunity to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And like the first year of the military is...
I pass up a lot of those.
The first year is just a great opportunity.
This is probably one of them right now.
Sorry, we keep interrupting.
No, I did that on purpose. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And
Speaking of shutting the fuck up.
It's that idea that you paid a company that, like, they have shirts embroidered for this shit. Shut up.
They've invested.
They've invested in this.
Yeah.
Ours are screen printed.
Yeah. That means they can be changed.
Guess who's not on the roster anymore?
Nothing a black marker can't change.
Exactly. Why do you guys wear black shirts? Because black markers.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, so that's what ends up happening is you check your ego, you don't pass up that opportunity, and you learn. Mm-hmm. And then the sooner...
Who calls a bar on a Sunday afternoon?
So with the idea of going to a driving school to argue, to prove to this random person that, we used to joke around at the road racing schools that, Roger Penske is not hiding somewhere at the track. He does not have scouts sitting up in the stands.
Yeah.
Anybody sitting in those stands is the people you brought with you. So drive the car or don't, but stop looking around. You're not good looking enough that all of a sudden you're just going to be just picked out of the crowd. And
I watched you drive. I'd like you to run the school now, please.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We already have an office for you.
But that's the problem. I had some kid that tell me once, he's like, I'm really good at Forza, so, I may become a professional race car driver. I'm like, damn Nissan, and what they did that, where they took video game people and they put them in real cars.
So,
yeah. You understand I'm good. I don't care.
The very first person to win the Gran Turismo Nissan thing, they put him in the car, and he barely made a lap because he physically couldn't handle the G's.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He could drive. He could visually see, and he had
the
the
timing. All the lines,
yeah. But all of a sudden, 2.5 G's on your neck, and you're just like, pudding.
You put me in a GT3 RS, I can own the Nürburgring. Own it. Do not put me on the real ring.
Yeah, you forgot that they're athletes as well.
Dude.
You may have great thumb dexterity.
I'm an athlete.
So I've driven some cool tracks. I've driven some cool cars. I've never driven a car that had too much horsepower. I've driven many a car that did not have enough traction.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's like, it's not that it has too much power.
No.
It's that it can't put it down.
Why do I keep seeing the rear trunk badge in front of me?
Did we mention he's a Corvette owner?
Yeah. A new Corvette owner, too, yeah.
Oh, by the way, you were talking about your mileage on your Z06 with the engine cylinder shut down Chingus. I can get 32 miles to the gallon on my Corvette.
Dang.
It's unreal.
Is that like sitting still?
Yeah, right. Just needs more downforce.
Not 70.
You put it on the back of a truck, and you drive it down the road.
It's like those speed things that they do with the guy with the chain ring like this big, and he's behind an air fairing, like his tires that far, and you're just like, oh, dude, don't. But with the rally cars and the dirt and the idea of moving weight around, moving the car around, it's very foreign because. Like you said, if you've done a track day, you're in a car. You've driven on some back road spiritedly. You've driven to this, and you've maybe done an autocross. But you The average cat has not driven a rally car around a course.
Yeah, going up Salton Basin Road does not count.
And when you get to the rally school and they put you in a classroom, listen.
Oh, the classroom's great.
And I will say,
Jeez.
I've been to
I
some.
want to be in the car. Be here first.
Yeah.
I've worked in a number of different racing schools, and I will say one of my favorite classroom presentations is from Dirtfish. They don't use an easel. They don't use flip cards from the 70s.
They use a little, like a picture of a car on a stick.
They've got a whiteboard, and they draw a car, and they say, this is you. And so if you went through here faster, you'd be less sucky.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks. I'll work on that.
Learn to suck less.
Yeah, suck less.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And so when you get to this idea of driving and enjoying the classroom environment of it, they show you, they've got drone footage of the car overhead, and they show you what I was talking about in this. We're not going to turn on the gas. We're going to use the technique to square off this corner and get on the gas sooner.
Yep.
And not be with the rear end just hanging out, just look like you're running from a bank robbery.
Fun, but not effective.
No, and you're just, just hands everywhere, and the windshield wipers are coming on because you're just getting handsy, and everybody's sitting there.
I'm laughing as I've been there.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And so what ends up happening is they show you what the car is going to do. They show high-speed footage of the car from the side and show you that when you get on the brakes, the nose dives. You have transferred weight. Mm-hmm. Now is when you can really use that steering. You only have 100% traction. You only have 100% traction. You can't give it 110%, champ.
Yeah.
You got 100% traction.
Dad's a liar.
So if you are 80% braking, physics don't give a shit if you turn that wheel to lock.
Yeah.
You've only got 20% left.
We see that in the snow a lot. Even at low speed, that's a great example of that, is we see that all the time in the snow. We're like, no, dude, your traction's at 100%. It's not going to help you if you turn. You need to get the rear end in the way you want to go and point straight, because that's how you're going to transfer the most power down.
Yep.
That's a great thing to bring up, because yeah, we see that a lot when we get newer drivers with snow, which we encourage.
Totally.
Snow drivers to go have fun, learn from somebody. But that's one of the things I see a lot is people are like, I'm turning the way I want to go. It's not going. I'm like, yeah, you're on ice, dude. Yep. You got to get the rear end where you want to go and then go straight.
And it's also that thing, especially for snow, but it's anytime you're driving, your brain is so powerful. Your brain can do math that you wouldn't believe, that you don't even understand. And you look to where you want to go, and your body will get you there. It's amazing. So
learned that lesson on a Honda 50 once.
And so we talk about that.
We've all been there. I don't know how I hit the tree. Were you looking at the tree? Yeah.
Yep. I didn't want to hit it. So I wanted to make sure I didn't hit it. So I looked right at it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is your brain is so powerful. We call it target fixation.
Yeah.
You see it. You could not get there faster if you tried.
Yeah.
You couldn't get there more efficiently.
Yeah.
So one of the things in rally is at Dirtfish, depending upon what course you take, you may end up on an actual rally stage. Real trees, real dirt, real ecology blocks, real consequences.
Yep. Get the insurance.
And that's the other thing. If you kill the instructor, the insurance covers it.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, it's rude. They usually don't invite you back.
It's frowned upon.
Yeah. And so what ends up happening is you can't look at those trees, those ecology blocks, that river.
Starts on the 3-day course, right, when they get into that? Yeah, so the 1 day, I recommend anybody do the 1 day. If you're looking like, maybe I should do the half day, maybe I should do the 2 hour. No, do the 1 day. Do the 1 day. It's worth it. You'll just do the half day and be like, when can I go back for the 1 day?
So now, my only argument on that would be after, like I said, the technique is so wildly different. And it's a true racing school. Like, it is a racing school.
Yeah.
Much like a lot of the different places where you can go and go get your SEC license or something like that. You go do a 3-day course, and they're going to teach you how to do a flying start. Nice.
Good sounding Audi.
Audi?
Yeah. V8 with exhaust.
Yeah.
Older
sorry.
A6 with exhaust. That was cool. Anyway,
So the
probably needs cam timing chains.
Every single person in this bar went,
Yeah.
and so what ends up happening is, like, you know, when you go to, like, at Proformance, you go do the school, they're going to talk to you at first about all this technique and about learning how to drive and then racing, and then you're going to do a practice start, and then you're going to leave there with the knowledge of how to do a race. Doesn't necessarily give you the skill yet, but you have the knowledge.
You understand the fundamentals, at least on paper.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with the rally school, it's the same type of thing. Now, the average customer is doing the experience. They have no intention of buying a rally car. They're never going to go do a rally race. It was a fun experience. It was a Vegas trip. It was I'm going to go out to Snoqualmie, go have lunch at that little place, and go drive a rally car.
Yeah.
Cool. So if that's your want, do whatever you want, for sure. If you are looking to actually race, and you do want to get into rally, and you want to go to the school so that you can start to bite the bug, you know, and get bit of getting into it, is I recommend that you do the half-day course, get the technique, and then go away for a week or 10 days, and then come back and either take the 1 day, the 2 day, the 3 day, whatever you want to do, because the 1 day is a lot of fun, but it's basically just the half day and then lunch, and then you get to do a couple of drills with what you learned. But if it didn't sink in, you end up just kind of flailing.
Oh, okay.
For the second half of the day. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people get frustrated.
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah.
Because, like I said, it took me a good 2 half days, and
you're a veteran driver.
I'm a veteran driver. I've been
Yeah.
racing for 20 years, and I know my way around a car.
Yeah.
So it was so different, and telling your brain, no, do this. No, do this. And you're like, no, this is what you do. And it's like, no.
I don't think that's what the guy was screaming at me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we ran long on these episodes, but I'm glad we did because this was a ton of fun. Needless to say, you're still playing with cars. Obviously, you got the bar. I can't wait for you guys to open back up because who knew the Mount Si pub was a motorsports destination, which is really cool.
Is
as
it
you
Mount
look
Si
around,
pub or tavern? Because in ways, it will not come up under tavern.
no, because it's a pub in ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back in the day, it used to be taverns had beer and wine.
Yeah.
Pub had food and alcohol.
Yeah.
But in Washington, there's only a liquor license for bars and restaurants, or there's restaurants for like a winery or a brewery. Yeah. So those are the only two, so it doesn't matter. So it was originally called the Tavern. So the biggest sign on the outside says Mount Si Tavern, but the official name and the lit-up sign is Mount Si Pub. But we bought both names. We own both of them, and we're.
It's easy to find from the freeway.
Yeah, it's the little red guy.
The more you know.
The more you know. Yeah. But it's this whole thing of the Mount Si.
Do we have any Avant stuff coming up? I think everything's pretty much...
Yeah, everything's shut down for Avance. They did the toy drive, which is really cool, but there's no official gatherings of any kind due to COVID. Obviously, we're still locked down until January now. So.
Get your magazines. Check out the article that Dan and I did and the photos with all the Subarus. It's a lot of fun.
And the photos at the track with the Lotuses, which we helped with.
Yeah. The whole magazine's awesome.
Yeah, the interview with Carrie we did is in there.
Yeah.
It's a great issue.
Wait till you hear the next interview that's coming up in there. That's going to be good.
That is going to be a really good one, yeah. And any Avance partner will have it, so including Dirtfish or Park Place or wherever you get your car serviced or whatever you want to do.
Thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it.
This is a ton of fun, man.
Thanks for having me, man. You guys,
I think we're going to be deep friends for a long time. But
whether you like it or not.
I agree.
Would you please leave the bar? No.
We would
it's okay. I know the owner. Well, he's asking you to leave. Okay. That's fine. So, well, for this episode of Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.